Somewhere lost in all of the General Motors bankruptcy shuffle was the Saab brand. While no longer a part of GM, they're still building cars, or were until a recent cash shortage stopped assembly. Now, as we record this, Saab was still expecting new investments so production could resume. But regardless of the outcome, their latest car, the redesigned 9.5, deserves our review. We just hope it's not the last. We certainly hope it isn't the last, since the 2011 Saab 9.5 luxury sports sedan is a very interesting car. It's true that Saab lost a lot of its quirkiness under GM ownership, but it also became a much more reliable car, and we would argue better looking as well. The nearly 7-inch longer 9.5 wears styling that is certainly smoother and more elegant than Saab's of yore. The front end is very smooth, with available bi-xenon cornering headlights that have an upscale bluish tint. Attractive optional 18-inch alloys highlight a profile with a hockey stick character line that points to a thick C-pillar and high deck lid. And full-width LED taillights help to set off an otherwise stoic rear end. Saabs have always had a fun-to-drive nature that few other front-wheel drive cars could match, and while that nature didn't fully hold up on a track, it was more than acceptable for back-road blasting. Still, when blasting through the cones at our track, the new 9.5 with its GM Epsilon chassis held up very well. Steering is light, precise, and just about perfect. By far the best part of the car. The new 9.5 may look far more luxury than sport, but handling performance was more aggressive than we were expecting. For power, the 9.5 sports either a 2.8-liter V6 or our car's more traditional turbocharged 2-liter i4. Output is 220 horsepower with an even healthier 258 pound-feet of torque. A 6-speed manual came standard in our Turbo 4 with a 6-speed automatic optional. The automatic is standard with the V6. Unfortunately, traditional Saab power is only adequate for this nearly 2-ton 9.5. With only modest boost available, it took all of 8.2 seconds to reach 60 and 16.3 seconds to make it to the end of the quarter mile at a decent 91 miles per hour. Our car's 6-speed manual proved very smooth, however. But what is the 9.5 like to actually live with? Well, the interior will be familiar to current Saab owners. A very driver-oriented, aircraft-inspired layout with clear gauges and ergonomically correct switchgear. But while all quite traditional, it also seems quite dated. Yes, a cool center console start button has replaced the key, but everything else seems yesterday, including some of the worst-looking fake wood we've seen in years. On the plus side, all seats are very comfortable and supportive, including those in the rear, where you'll also find increased legroom. And the huge trunk, another Saab tradition, is almost wagon-like in its usefulness, especially when you add the optional U-Rail cargo system. In suburban use, we found all of the elements of the 9.5 gelled very well. The new 9.5 reacts to uneven road conditions with grace and overall is pleasantly refined. Soundproofing is excellent, providing 9.5 occupants a comforting luxury car experience while retaining a people and cargo versatility that no rival sedan can match. Government fuel economy ratings for our manually equipped Turbo 4 are 20 city and 33 highway. Expect 25 in daily driving using affordable regular grade gas. The energy impact score is a better than average 13.7 barrels of oil consumed per year, with a carbon footprint of 7.5 annual tons of CO2 emitted. The 2011 Saab 9.5 is a little hard to classify. It handles like a true sports sedan, has an interior that's behind the times, and a price tag that's definitely luxury car, starting at $39,350. Stepping up to V6 power and all-wheel drive will take you over $50,000. You can tell we were perplexed by the 2011 Saab 9.5. It's a huge improvement over the former car, better looking, better handling, and far more accommodating. But maybe it holds on to tradition a little too much, and there are too many off-the-shelf GM parts for true prestige status. Still, Saab fans will like it, and most shortcomings can be easily addressed. We just hope this Saab story still has a chance for a happy ending.
While the all-new 2011 Saab 9.5 is the first vehicle to be released since GM sold the manufacturer to Spyker, it was more or less a finished product by the time the Dutch took the reins. As a result, the third-generation 9.5 enters the US market with numerous parts from the General, most notably a turbocharged 2.8-liter 300-horse V6 and Epsilon 2 architecture. Dubbed Aero Turbo 6 all-wheel drive, the introductory 9.5 starts at $48,490. Once we figured out how to get its turbo V6 breathing, we took the 9.5 to the test track. 0 to 60 took just 6.1 seconds, with the quarter mile done and dusted in 14.7 at 95.8 miles per hour. 60 to 0 braking took a very sports car-like 112 feet. The Saab completed our figure 8 course in 26.3 seconds at 0.69 G and held an average lateral acceleration of 0.88 G. Objectively, the new 9.5 is a winner, evidence that a Swedish sedan with GM underpinnings and power can hang with the segment's top players. Saab cars have always been quirky automobiles, and they should always remain quirky automobiles. It's their heritage, their DNA. That said, there's no excusing some of the 9.5's new quirks, such as the slow, stubborn transmission. And then there's the cost. Our nicely equipped tester was far from obscenely optioned, yet its $52,350 price tag could cover other more powerful and arguably more prestigious competitors with room to spare. At $52,000, there are many other choices that provide more for less. Let's hope Saab's new owner guides the brand back to its proper place on the automotive scene.
Now that Saab has been liberated from the General Motors tie-up, the time has come for the Swedish brand to once again stand on its own. To kick off this new era at Saab is an all-new 2011 9.5 sedan, the company's flagship car. But just like when you split from your girlfriend, inevitably stuff gets left behind, and it takes some time before you reclaim your own identity. And such is the case with the 9.5. This car is still very much a GM-derived creation. My 9.5 Turbo 4 Premium has the same engine as the Buick Regal Turbo, and once you get inside, you'll find OnStar, a Cadillac Navi unit, and GM knobs and switchgear. I'm not making an indictment of the car, mind you, but just be aware that a GM-free Saab it is not. The new soft flowing lines of the 9.5, along with its dazzling headlamp design and blue-hued lines on the side mirrors, make for a striking impression. I really fell in love with the overall look of the car. It's something truly unique and opposes the design of, say, Cadillac's hard creases. It's a real looker from any angle. The 9.5 comes available as a front-drive model with this base 4-cylinder turbo and your choice of either a 6-speed manual or automatic transmission. My tester is the Turbo 4 Premium Automatic, the top 4-cylinder trim, with a base MSRP of $44,260 and an as-tested price of $47,750 with the addition of the Saab infotainment navigation and Harman Kardon surround sound system. While we're in here, the interior design harkens back to Saabs of the past, and while some aspects, like the center-mounted push-button start, have been updated for the times, the Aero-inspired cockpit is unmistakably Saab. If you like that, then great, but if you're in search of a more modern feel, you might be disappointed. The 9.5 is classified as a midsize, but it's much bigger than most of its rivals, lending to excellent rear seat legroom and cargo space. It's really quite comfortable overall. My driving impressions were less enthusiastic. The 220 horse output here is underwhelming to say the least, even though the engine makes turbo-level torque and pleasing sounds. There are paddle shifters with which to play, and the car's body feels rigid, but I didn't sense much joy in the drive. Perhaps the 300 horse Turbo 6 with all-wheel drive is where the fun is kept. And I wouldn't have minded a softer ride quality too, though the suspension seems eager to keep the 9.5 hugging the turns. 0 to 60 here takes 8.2 seconds, while gas mileage is rated at 18 mpg city, 28 highway, and Saab is apparently very proud to announce the optional use of E85 here, which then drops mileage to 13 city and 21 highway. Getting Saab back on consumers' radar screens will be challenging to say the least, and it may be hard to see the 9.5's beauty beyond its self-aggrandizing price tag and somewhat confused personality. For DriveTime on Yahoo Autos, I'm Steve Hammis.
Now, the future of Saab has been a little bit uncertain, but now that things are on the up and the future is bright, they can concentrate on the business of brand new cars, like this one, their new estate. It's the 9.5 Sport Wagon, but it's set itself some pretty lofty goals because it's going to take on the BMW 5 Series Touring and the Audi A6 Avant. And that is not going to be easy. The Sport Wagon follows hot on the heels of the saloon model and retains the car's distinctive styling. However, this car's all about the boot, and with the rear seats in place, there's 527 litres of luggage space, or 1,600 litres with the back seats folded down. Just like the 9.5 Saloon, there'll be a choice of 2 petrol engines and 2 diesel engines, one with 158 brake horsepower and another with 188. There's also 2 trim levels, the Vector SC and the Aero, and the option of 4-wheel drive. It sounds good in principle, but what are its chances of success? Let's see what the Whatcar reader test team think.
First of all, I mean, the overall impression was on how modern it is. Fits in, with all the sort of new Mercedes and new BMWs. The cabin's obviously quite important to anyone, but somebody like myself that does about 40,000 miles a year, it's very important. And again, I was pretty much blown away. The fit, the feel is absolutely fantastic. I'd certainly consider it. I'd want something that's comfortable, something that's modern, and something that can take my my little 2-year-old and my wife in comfort, really, so it fits the bill.
From what I've seen as a load lugger, it's very, very practical. The rear seats go down very easily. There's just one button to drop the seat down, and it produces an absolutely level loading bay. So if you needed to use it as a serious estate car, then it would have very impressive capabilities.
I like it. I think it's distinctive. I particularly like the nose, the front end of it. I've noticed with the saloon car, when it comes up behind you on the motorway, it looks really distinctive, and it's quite. It makes quite an impression on you, and I think that's really nice. It does make a statement. It feels quite different and an alternative to the mainstream. I think it's for people who buy a Saab because they want to say, I'm a bit different. I'm not afraid to be unconventional. Yes, I think it's got a chance, but I'd want to drive it on the road before I made a definite judgment.
Prices start at £28,195 when it goes on sale in June. However, you'll have to wait till September when deliveries start, which is also when we'll get our first drives in the car. We will, of course, be giving you a full video road test as soon as possible.
Cars.com Auto Review.
Hi, I'm Dave Thomas of Cars.com, and this is a 2010 Saab 9.5. It's an all-new design, and it's one of the most stylish in its segment. However, the styling is about the only thing where it stands out from the rest of its class. The front end might be a bit boring, but when you get around to the side, the profile is actually quite striking and unique. You have this blacked out A-pillar. You don't really see that much in the automotive landscape. It's a different color than the exterior paint, so it really stands out, as does this two-tone side mirror. And it's got this jewel-like turn signal right in it. Very cool. And then you've got this sloping roof line, which a lot of cars slope, but not quite with this much angularity to it. And then you've got a huge C-pillar. For Saab fans, however, the back is where it's at because the design is reminiscent of the classic 900 hatchbacks from, 2 or 3 decades ago now. However, there's a lot of modern touches here, namely this light bar that runs across the entire back end, split up only by the Saab name. So it's almost like a rolling billboard. When it goes by, you say, what is that? Well, it's a Saab. If you want a history lesson in General Motors and their bankruptcy, just take a look at the dashboard of the new 9.5 because it comes right from that time frame of 2 to 3 years ago. It was kind of frozen in development, and you'll see that with a lot of cheap plastics that definitely shouldn't be in a $50,000 sedan. When you finally get behind the wheel of the new 9.5, it becomes readily apparent that this car was developed in conjunction with General Motors before it was sold. It's got a turbocharged V6 engine good for 300 horsepower. And while it's a nice engine, I still prefer the supercharged V6 in the Audi A6 or even just a plain V6 in the Infiniti M37. The model we're in here is called the Aero, and it starts around $50,000. It's a top-of-the-line trim, but that also means it's a sports-oriented trim level as well. So it rides lower to the ground and it has firmer shocks. And that means it's a really rough ride. So if you're looking for a comfortable commuter, don't pick the Aero. Luckily, from the dashboard back, the 9.5 has a really nice interior. That starts with a sturdy steering wheel and shifter, really unique doors, has a unique design going on there. The seats are really comfortable in a rich leather, and the back seat is pretty big. Not only is the new 9.5 significantly bigger than the model it replaces, it's also longer than the competition like the Audi A6 and Infiniti M37, and what that means is you get a really big back seat. Now I have the driver's seat exactly where I had it where I was driving. I'm 5'10", and as you can see, I have inches of room between my knees and that seat. Now there's lots of legroom too, and it has more legroom than the Audi A6 and the Infiniti M37, and not only that, it has a bigger trunk too. While the new 9.5 is certainly a stylish car, it doesn't really live up to that $50,000 price tag in this Aero-equipped model that we have here. However, it does show a lot of potential for the brand now that it's post-General Motors.
For more car-related news, go to Cars.com or our blog, KickingTires.net.